A poor village girl named Mercy meets a kind stranger, David, on a night that changes both their lives. But fate pulls them apart before love can grow. As Mercy struggles to
Take
survive
this.
in the city, a
You can
jealous friend
always find
twists
me
the
with
truth
it.
and steps into her place, building a life on lies with the man who promised to find the real girl he never stopped thinking about. What follows is a powerful story of love, betrayal, identity, and destiny, where one woman fights to reclaim her truth, and one man must discover that the love he holds onto may not belong to the person beside him. Pull up a seat. Welcome to Afromoral Tales, where morals shake hands with mischief, lessons sneak in, and every tale bites gently. Before we begin, if you love stories that make you think and smile, tap that subscribe button and join our circle. It's free, and it helps us keep these tales alive. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels tonight. Now, let the story begin. Mercy was a young girl who lived in a small village in Nigeria with her grandmother. Life was not easy, but Mercy did not complain. She woke up early every morning and started her day with work. She fetched water, cleaned the house, and helped her grandmother prepare food. After that, she would go to the market to sell cassava and other small things. Some days were good, but many days she returned home with little or no money. Her grandmother, Mama Esther, was old but strong in spirit. She always advised Mercy to be patient and hardworking. "Life will not always be like this," Mama Esther would say. "Your time will come." Mercy believed her. Even when things were hard, she held on to hope. She had finished secondary school, but there was no money to continue her education. Many girls her age had already given up and accepted village life, but Mercy wanted more. She wanted to change her story. At night, when the work was done, she would sit quietly and think about the city. She had heard many stories about Port Harcourt. People said there were many opportunities there. They said if you worked hard, you could succeed. Mercy dreamed of getting a good job, earning money, and taking care of her grandmother. She wanted to fix their house and make life easier for them. But leaving the village was not easy. It meant leaving the only home she had ever known. It also meant facing a world she did not understand. Still, the desire in her heart kept growing. Mercy was known in the village for her kind heart. If someone was in trouble, she would help without thinking twice. Even when she had little, she shared. Some people said she was too soft. "This world is not for people like you," one woman once told her. "If you don't learn to be smart, people will take advantage of you." Mercy only smiled. She did not believe kindness was a weakness. One evening, after a long day, she sat beside her grandmother. "Mama," she said softly, "I want to go to the city." Mama Esther looked at her for a long time. She could see the determination in Mercy's eyes. "The city is not easy," she replied. "But if your heart is strong, you can survive." Mercy nodded. "I will work hard. I will not disappoint you." Her grandmother placed her hand on Mercy's head and prayed for her. That night, Mercy could not sleep. Her mind was full of thoughts about the future. She did not know how or when, but she knew one thing for sure. Her life was about to change. The next morning, Mercy woke up with the same thought in her mind. She was ready for a new life. But before she could leave the village, she needed to gather some firewood to sell at the market. She carried her small rope and cutlass and walked toward the bush. It was something she had done many times before, so she was not afraid. As she worked, her mind drifted back to her plans about the city. She was so deep in thought that she almost missed the sound. A low groan. Mercy stopped. At first, she thought she had imagined it. She listened carefully again. Then she heard it clearly, a man's voice, weak and in pain. Fear tried to rise in her chest, but her kind nature pushed her forward. "Hello," she called out. "Is anyone there?" There was no reply, only another faint groan. Mercy followed the sound and soon saw him. A man lay on the ground, dressed in clothes that did not belong to someone from the village. His shirt was dirty, his body weak, and his face showed deep pain. Mercy rushed to his side. "Sir, can you hear me?" she asked. The man did not answer. His eyes were half closed, and his breathing was fast. When Mercy touched him, she quickly pulled her hand back. His body was very hot. "This is not good," she whispered. She looked around, thinking fast. She could not leave him there. No one else was around to help. With great effort, she tried to lift him, but he was too heavy. She then held his arm and slowly dragged him along the ground. It was not easy. Her strength was small compared to his weight, but she refused to give up. Step by step, she pulled him to a small, empty shed nearby. When she finally got him inside, She was breathing heavily, her body tired. She laid him down and looked at him again. "Please don't die," she said quietly. The man moved slightly. His lips parted as if he wanted to speak, but no words came out. Mercy looked around. There was nothing much inside the shed. She needed to help him somehow. She remembered what her grandmother had once told her, that when someone has a strong fever, they must be kept warm and cared for closely. Mercy hesitated for a moment. This was a complete stranger. But then she looked at his face again. He looked helpless. Slowly, she sat beside him and held him, trying to give him warmth and comfort. After some time, the man began to move more. His hand found hers and held it tightly. "Don't go," he murmured weakly. Mercy's heart beat faster. "I'm here," she replied softly. "I will not leave you." She did not know who he was or where he came from. All she knew was that, at that moment, his life depended on her. And without knowing it, Mercy had just stepped into a moment that would change everything. Mercy sat beside the man, still holding his hand as he struggled to stay conscious. His grip was tight, almost like he was afraid she would disappear if he let go. "I'm here," she said again, her voice calm, even though her heart was beating fast. The man's eyes opened slightly, but they were not clear. He was not seeing her properly. His body was still very hot, and he kept shaking. "Water," he whispered. Mercy quickly looked around. There was an old container in one corner. She checked it and found a little water inside. It was not clean, but it was all she had. She carefully lifted his head and helped him drink. He swallowed slowly, then relaxed a little. "Thank you," he said weakly. Mercy placed his head back down gently. She felt a little relief, but she knew he was not yet safe. His body still burned with fever. After some time, he began to speak again, but his words did not make sense. "They betrayed me. I won't lose. I won't," he muttered. Mercy did not understand what he was saying, but she could hear the pain in his voice. Suddenly, he pulled her closer. "Don't leave me," he said, his voice low and desperate. Mercy froze for a moment. She had never been this close to a man before. Fear mixed with confusion filled her heart. But when she looked at him, she saw something else: pain, weakness, and fear. Slowly, she relaxed. "I'm not going anywhere," she said. He looked at her again, still not fully aware. His hand moved to her face, touching it gently, like he was trying to be sure she was real. "You're kind," he whispered. Before Mercy could say anything, he pulled her closer again. Everything that followed happened quickly, like a dream she could not stop. The man was not in his right mind. His body was weak, but his actions were driven by confusion and need. Mercy felt scared, but she also felt sorry for him. She did not fully understand what was happening, and she did not know how to stop it. She only knew he was holding on to her, like she was the only thing keeping him alive. That night changed everything. After some time, the man became quiet. His body relaxed, and his breathing became steady. The fever seemed to reduce, and he fell into a deep sleep. Mercy slowly moved away from him, her hands shaking. She sat in silence, trying to understand what had just happened. Her heart was heavy. She felt confused, scared, and unsure of what the future would bring. She looked at the man sleeping beside her. A stranger. But somehow, her life was now tied to his in a way she could not explain. Mercy wrapped her arms around herself and sat there quietly. She did not know it yet, but by morning, nothing would ever be the same again. Mercy did not sleep. She sat quietly, her back against the wall, watching the man as he lay on the ground. His breathing was now calm, and the heat in his body had reduced. The sickness that almost took his life seemed to be gone. But Mercy's mind was not at rest. She kept thinking about everything that had happened. She did not fully understand it, but she knew one thing: her life had changed. As the first light of morning came in, the man began to move. Mercy quickly stood up, her heart beating fast. His eyes opened slowly. This time they were clear. He looked around, confused at first, then tried to sit up. "Where am I?" he asked, his voice still weak. Mercy stepped back a little. "You are safe," she said. "You were very sick. I brought you here." The man looked at her, trying to remember. Images flashed through his mind, but they were not clear. He remembered pain, heat, and a soft presence beside him. He remembered a voice. Her voice. "You helped me?" he asked. Mercy nodded. He looked at her more carefully now. There was something about her that felt familiar, even though he could not fully explain it. "Thank you," he said quietly. Mercy did not reply. She did not know what to say. There was a moment of silence between them. Then the man touched his neck and realized something was missing. "My pendant," he said, looking around. Mercy's eyes shifted. She had seen it the night before when it fell during the struggle. Without speaking, she picked it up from where she had placed it and handed it to him. He looked surprised. "You found it?" She nodded again. "This is very important to me," he said as he held it tightly. "Thank you." Mercy turned her face away slightly. She did not want to stay any longer. "I have to go," she said. The man looked at her quickly. "Wait," he said. "At least tell me your name." Mercy paused. For a moment, she almost spoke, but something inside her held her back. She shook her head. "It's not necessary," she said softly. Before he could say anything else, she turned and started walking away. "Wait," he called again, trying to stand up, but his body was still weak. Mercy did not stop. She walked out of the shed and did not look back. Her heart was heavy, but her steps were fast. She knew if she stayed any longer, things would only become more complicated. Back inside the shed, the man sat quietly, holding the pendant in his hand. He looked toward the door where she had disappeared. He did not know her name. He did not know where she came from. But he knew one thing for sure. He would find her. And as Mercy walked back to her village, she tried to push everything out of her mind. But deep inside, she knew. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. As Mercy hurried back to the village, her mind was full. She tried not to think about the man, but his face and voice stayed with her. When she got home, her grandmother noticed her silence. "Mercy, are you okay?" Mama Esther asked. "I'm fine," Mercy replied quickly. "I just got tired." Her grandmother looked at her closely, but said nothing more. Mercy went about her normal duties, but something had changed inside her. She was quieter, more withdrawn. She avoided questions and kept everything to herself. She told no one about the stranger. Meanwhile, far away from the village, the man Mercy saved had already left. His name was Daniel. His driver and security team had found him not long after Mercy left the shed. They were worried, but relieved to see him alive. "Sir, we have been searching for you everywhere," his driver said. "I'm fine," Daniel replied, though his voice was still weak. "Take me back to the city." On the way, Daniel stayed silent. His mind kept going back to the girl. He could not remember everything clearly, but he remembered enough. He remembered her voice, her kindness, and how she stayed with him when he was helpless. He had met many people in his life, but none like her. Back in his house in Port Harcourt, Daniel tried to return to his normal life. He had meetings, calls, and business to handle. But he could not focus. Something was missing. One evening, he sat alone in his room, holding his pendant. He remembered how she returned it to him without keeping it. That alone told him she was different. Most people would have taken it. "She didn't even tell me her name," he said quietly to himself. The more he thought about her, the more he became sure of one thing. He had to find her. The next morning, he called his assistant. "James," he said, "I need you to find someone." James nodded. "Yes, sir. Do you have any details?" Daniel paused for a moment. "She is from a village not far from where I was found. She is young, simple, and kind." James waited for more. Daniel shook his head slightly. "That's all I have." James looked surprised but wrote it down anyway. "Find her," Daniel added. "No matter what it takes." "Yes, sir," James replied. As James left the room, Daniel looked out through the window. He knew it would not be easy, but he also knew he could not ignore what he felt. Somewhere out there was a girl who saved his life and asked for nothing in return. A girl who walked away without even giving her name. Daniel held his pendant tightly. "I will find you," he said softly. Back in the village, Mercy sat quietly outside her house, lost in her thoughts. She did not know that at that same moment, someone powerful had made a promise. A promise that would soon change her life again. Days passed after that quiet evening, but Mercy's thoughts did not change. She still remembered the stranger, but she pushed the memory aside and focused on her goal. She had made up her mind. It was time to leave the village. One morning, Mercy sat with her grandmother and spoke clearly. "Mama, I want to go to Port Harcourt," she said. Mama Esther looked at her for a long moment. She already knew this day would come. "Are you ready?" she asked. Mercy nodded. "I will work hard. I will send money home. I want to take care of you." Her grandmother sighed softly. "The city is not easy," she said. "But if you are strong, you will survive." Mercy held her hand. "I will be strong." There was nothing more to say. With the little money she had saved, Mercy prepared to travel. She packed her few clothes, her school certificate, and a small photo of her parents. Her grandmother prayed for her before she left. "God will guide you," Mama Esther said. Mercy hugged her tightly. "I will come back for you," she promised. Soon after, Mercy boarded a bus to Port Harcourt. The journey was long and uncomfortable, but she did not complain. She sat quietly, holding her bag, thinking about the life ahead. When she finally arrived, everything felt different. The city was busy. People moved fast. No one had time to stop or talk. Mercy felt small, but she did not lose hope. She stayed in a small room arranged by a distant relative. It was not comfortable, but it was enough for her to start. The next day, she began to look for work. She went from one place to another, asking for any job. Many people turned her away. "No vacancy," they said. Some did not even listen to her. Mercy felt tired, but she did not give up. After many tries, she remembered someone her grandmother had once mentioned, Auntie Ruth, a woman who worked in a big hotel. Mercy found a way to contact her. "Come and see me," Auntie Ruth said. Mercy went to the hotel the next day. It was the biggest place she had ever seen. Auntie Ruth looked at her and asked, "Can you work hard?" "Yes," Mercy answered. "Then you can start as a cleaner," she said. Mercy smiled with relief. "Thank you, Ma," she said. And just like that, Mercy started her new life. Every day, she woke up early and worked for many hours. The job was not easy, but she was grateful. At night, she counted her money and kept most of it safe to send home. She believed she was moving forward. She did not know that while she was trying to build her future, someone else was already planning to take it from her. Far away, in the village she left behind, something important had just been discovered. Back in the village, life continued as usual, but Mercy was no longer there. Her absence was felt, especially by her grandmother. Mama Esther sat quietly most days, trusting that Mercy would keep her promise and send money soon. Patience, Mercy's closest friend, had taken it upon herself to stay around and help. "I will take care of everything," she often said. At first, it sounded kind, but deep inside, Patience felt something else. Jealousy. She had watched Mercy all her life. Mercy was always kind, always hopeful, always dreaming. And now, she had gone to the city to chase a better life. Patience wanted that life too. One afternoon, while cleaning Mercy's small room, Patience noticed something on the floor near the mat. She bent down and picked it up. It was a pendant. It looked expensive, something no one in the village could afford. Patience turned it in her hand, studying it carefully. Where did she get this? She asked herself. Her mind began to race. She remembered the day Mercy came back late from the bush. Her clothes were dirty, and she had looked different. When asked, she gave a simple answer and said nothing more. But Patience had seen it in her eyes. Something had happened. Now, holding the pendant, everything started to make sense. "A rich man," Patience whispered. Her heart began to beat faster. Mercy must have met someone important. Someone with money. Someone who gave her this. Patience's grip tightened around the pendant. "Why her?" she asked quietly. She looked around the small room. Mercy had nothing. No beauty like the city girls. No smart way of talking. No confidence. But somehow luck had found her. Patience felt anger rise inside her. "I deserve better than this," she said. Her thoughts began to change. At first, it was just curiosity. Then it became something else. A plan. "If she can meet a rich man, then so can I," Patience said slowly. She looked at the pendant again. This is the key. The idea grew stronger in her mind. Mercy was gone. No one in the village knew anything about what really happened. What if? What if she became Mercy? What if she went to the city and found the man who owned this pendant? Patience smiled. It was a risky idea, but it felt right to her. Mercy was too simple. She would not know how to use such an opportunity. But Patience was different. She was smart. She was bold. She knew how to survive. Clutching the pendant tightly, she made her decision. "I will go to the city," she said. "And I will take the life that was meant for me." At that same time in Port Harcourt, Mercy was finishing a long day at work, tired but hopeful. She believed her life was moving forward. She had no idea that far away, someone she trusted had just made a choice that would change everything. The decision Patience made that day did not leave her mind. By the next morning, she had already started planning. She knew she could not stay in the village if she wanted a different life. She needed to act fast before anyone suspected anything. When Mercy sent money for her grandmother a few days later, Patience saw it as her chance. Instead of using all the money for food and medicine, she kept a part of it for herself. "No one will know," she said quietly. With that money, she bought better clothes. Not too expensive, but enough to make her look different from a village girl. She also made sure to keep the pendant safe. She wore it around her neck every day. It was her proof. After a few days, Patience left the village without telling many people. She only told Mama Esther that she was going to look for small work, so she could also help. I will be back soon, she said with a smile. Mama Esther trusted her. Take care of yourself, the old woman replied. Patience nodded, but her mind was already far away. Soon, she was on her way to Port Harcourt. Unlike Mercy, Patience did not feel fear. She felt excitement. She believed she was going to take control of her life. When she arrived in the city, she did not go to poor areas. Instead, she stayed close to places where rich people moved. She watched carefully. She observed how people dressed, how they spoke, and how they behaved. Patience was a fast learner. Within days, she started to act differently. She changed her voice, her posture, and her attitude. She practiced her story again and again. My name is Mercy, she would say softly. I just came from the village. She made sure she sounded innocent and simple. But inside, she was calculating every move. She also began to ask questions quietly. She heard about a rich man named Daniel who was looking for a village girl who helped him. That was all she needed to hear. That is him, she said to herself. Her confidence grew stronger. All she needed now was a chance to meet him. She began spending time near places where important people went, restaurants, offices, and hotels. One day, as she sat quietly in a cafe, she saw two men walk in. They looked serious and well-dressed. One of them was asking questions and looking around. Patience watched them closely. Something told her this was her moment. She adjusted her position and made sure the pendant was visible on her neck. Then she lowered her head, pretending to be shy. The men noticed her. They walked closer. Excuse me, one of them said. Are you Mercy? Patience looked up slowly, acting surprised. Yes, I am, she replied. At that moment, the lie began. And Patience stepped fully into a life that was never hers. When Patience said she was Mercy, the two men exchanged quick looks. One of them was James, Daniel's assistant. He had been sent to find the girl who saved his boss. James studied her carefully. She looked shy, simple, and nervous. Exactly like what he was told. But what made him pause was the pendant around her neck. It matched the description. James spoke calmly. We've been looking for you, he said. Patience lowered her head, acting confused. Looking for me? Yes, James replied. Someone very important wants to meet you. Inside, Patience's heart raced, but she kept her face calm. I don't understand, she said softly. James smiled slightly. You will understand soon. Just come with us. Patience hesitated for a moment, then nodded. This was working faster than she expected. As they walked out of the cafe, she followed them quietly, acting unsure, like someone overwhelmed by attention. In truth, she was enjoying every second of it. Inside the car, James sat opposite her. He asked simple questions. Where are you from? A small village, Patience replied quickly. Do you remember helping someone during a storm a few weeks ago? Patience nodded immediately. Yes, she said. I found a man who was very sick. I stayed with him until help came. Her answers were smooth. She had practiced them well. James wrote everything down. Back at Daniel's office, he was waiting impatiently. She is confirmed? Daniel asked. Yes, sir, James replied. She matches the description. She even has the pendant. Daniel felt a strange relief. After all this time, he had finally found her. Bring her to me, he said. That evening, Patience was taken to a private area in a luxury hotel where Daniel was waiting. She walked in slowly, acting nervous. Daniel stood up the moment he saw her. Their eyes met. For a moment, everything felt still. You are her, Daniel said softly. Patience nodded. Yes, I am Mercy. Daniel studied her face. He remembered the girl from the shed as soft, kind, and quiet. Patience lowered her eyes exactly like that. I never forgot you, she added gently. Daniel smiled for the first time in days. You saved my life, he said. Patience gave a small smile. It was nothing, she replied. But inside, she felt victory rising. The lie was working perfectly. Daniel believed her completely. He looked at the pendant around her neck. That belongs to you, he said. Patience touched it slightly. I kept it safe. Daniel's trust deepened. To him, everything matched, the story, the face, and the pendant. He had no reason to doubt her. At that moment, the wrong girl had been found. And the real story of Mercy had just been buried deeper without anyone knowing. After that meeting, Daniel could not stop thinking about Patience, who he believed was Mercy. He started calling her more often and inviting her to spend time with him. At first, Patience acted shy, but she quickly learned how to adjust. She gave soft answers, smiled at the right time, and always acted humble when needed. Daniel liked everything about her. "She is different," he told his assistant James one day. "She is not like the other women I know." James only nodded, even though something still bothered him deep inside. Patience moved closer into Daniel's world day by day. He bought her clothes, gave her money, and treated her with care. She slowly began to enjoy the life. Big hotels, expensive food, private drivers. It felt like a dream she never wanted to wake up from. But she never forgot why she was there. She reminded herself every day, this is not just love. This is an opportunity. Daniel, on the other hand, was becoming more attached. He would call her just to hear her voice. He asked her about her village life and listened with full attention. Patience told him carefully prepared stories. About hardship, about struggle, about kindness. And Daniel believed every word. One evening, Daniel invited her to dinner at a rooftop restaurant in a luxury hotel. Patience arrived dressed neatly, trying to look simple but elegant. Daniel stood up as she entered. "You look beautiful," he said. Patience smiled softly. "Thank you." They sat together, and Daniel held her hand. "I don't know what it is," he said honestly, "but I feel peace when I'm with you." Patience lowered her eyes. "I feel the same," she replied. But inside, she was thinking differently. "This is working better than I imagined." Daniel leaned closer. "Since that day in the shed, I have not been able to forget you," he said. Patience nodded slowly. "I thought I would never see you again." Daniel looked serious. "I want to take care of you," he said. "I don't want you to suffer again." Patience hesitated for a second, then smiled. "That would mean a lot to me." From that moment, Daniel made up his mind. He would protect her. He would give her everything. And slowly, what started as gratitude turned into love. Days passed, and their relationship grew stronger. Daniel introduced her to close people in his life. He even began planning a future with her. Patience played her role perfectly. But deep inside, she knew the truth. This love was built on a lie. And every lie, no matter how strong, always has a way of breaking. If this story made you think, smile, or remember something important, then you belong in this circle. Subscribe and turn on your notifications for Afromoral tales and help us keep these stories alive. It's free, but it means everything. And before you go, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Let's see how far this circle reaches. Until the next tale, stay curious. Don't forget to check back for part 2.